Now today we will learn about formal theory of mathematical logic. So what is formal logic? Basically logic provides tools for systematically appraising reasoning. So formal language is one of the important among those tools. The word formal has a wide number of use in logic, but basically related to formal or informal distinction is the distinction between natural language and artificial language. What is that? Formal language are a species of artificial language. This logic must be distinguished from the process or art of proper reasoning, even the art of persuasion, in which often invalid arguments are more effective than the valid ones. So formal logic is concerned with proposition forms as well as with inference forms. We try to approach formal logic through the idea of validity of an argument, which is known as deduction. So a deductive one can be characterized as such one in which some proposition or say conclusion follows from some other propositions which are known as premise. So when conclusion of an argument is properly deducible from the premises, then that inference is called valid, irrespective of whether the premises are true or false. So for example, we are considering two cases. In the first case, every dog is mammal and some quadrupeds are mammals. Therefore, our conclusion will be some quadrupeds are mammals. So initial two statements are our assumption or premise, and the last one is conclusion, which is some quadrupeds are mammals. Similarly, in second example, each each x is y and some z's are x, then what will be conclusion? Therefore conclusion will be some z's are y's. That means each x is y and some z's are x. That means the conclusion will be some z's are y. Now what is formal language? Apart from the lexicography idea, 20th century logic offers a concept of formal that is somewhat more specific. So a formal language is a language that is computationally recognizable. That means, in other words, for a language to be formal, it must be possible to program a computer so that it can distinguish between items in that language and items not in that language. This is the basic characteristics of a formal language. So we will study a number of logical systems known as logical theories or deductive systems. So a logical system consists of four things. First one is vocabulary of primitive signs, that means set of symbols used in that language. Second one is formulas. So a list or set of rules governing what string of signs are grammatically or syntactically well formed. So we need formulas. Third one is a list of axioms or a subset of well-formed formulas considered as basic and unprovable principle taken as true in that system. And fourth one is specification of inference or rules are taken as valid in that system. So three and fourth step can be done in different ways, semantically or syntactically or even didactically. A formal language L is determined by its signature or called vocabulary. A propositional signature is a set of symbols called atoms. There are basically 7 symbols. First, we will consider zero place or zero-word relational symbols, that is falsium and truth. Second one is one place or unary, that is negation. And in the third case, we shall use two place or binary connectives, that is conjunction, disjunction, implication and equivalence. That means biconditional. Usually we denote variables by xyz, constant by c and k, relation symbols by uppercase pqr and formulas by uppercase a b c d f. As an example, if we consider the language of group theory, then signature consists of following symbols: group operation as the binary function symbol, identity as constant, inverse operation as unary symbol, and equality as the binary symbol. What is term? Each variable or constant of L, that means the previous formal language, is an L term. And if there are n number of terms t1, t2, tn, and f is some n-ary functional symbol, then f of t1, t2, tn will be an L term. What is L prime or L formula? It can be defined as if t1, t2, tn are terms and capital R is a some n-ary relation symbol, then R of t1, t2, tn will be an L formula. And note that if A, B are two L formulas, then so are their corresponding connections. Now there are exactly 26 simple or atomic formulas in the language of sentential logic. Although this formal language is entirely adequate for all sensible exercise in elementary logic, but it's not adequate for all theoretical use of the sentential logic. That's why there are not enough atomic formulas, and the usual informal way to rectify this problem is to add some numerical subscript to the letters, so as to yield infinitely many atomic formulas. So in addition of P, Q, R, so on, we can construct P1, Q2, R3, so on. That means we can use subscripts. Now what is the difference, and what is object language and meta language? The difference between object and meta language arises as soon as language is used to describe some another language. So suppose consider Spanish. There are two types of Spanish grammar books. Someone is something written in Spanish and those written in a foreign language, say for example English. Then in both cases Spanish is the subject of main consideration. That means that is the object of discussion. However, whereas the former book is also written in Spanish, the later book is written in English. So here Spanish is considered as object language. And what will be meta language? So basically the object language is the language being studied or the language under our consideration. And what is meta language? Meta language is the language used when studying the object language. So the symbolic language so far we have learned are our object language, and our meta language is so far plain English. To be more precise, it is slightly more technical variant of English than the ordinary one. Due to addition of symbols of our object language, we are adding some technical terms and even quasi-mathematical symbols to ordinary English. In our ordinary English, there are plenty of words like all, or, and, not, if, and it permits to add new words like if and only if. Obviously, our object language also have logical vocabularies and have signs like implication, negation, conjunction, disjunction, but it's better to restrict those signs for the object language to avoid ambiguity. Now our meta language must be very clear and precise. For that reason, when you use the word or, unless stated otherwise, we mean by this the inclusive meaning of or. And similarly, if we use the phrase if then, we always mean the logical conditional, that means implication by conditional unless stated otherwise. So the same sort of logical inference that apply in the object language also apply in the meta language. So what is metalinguistic variable? A schematic letter is a metalinguistic variable for object language expression, which when placed inside a representation of an object language is used as part of a device to mention all object language expressions formed by substituting its possible value in the position in which it appears. Basically, we use Greek or cursive letters to denote this metalinguistic variable. So they are metalinguistic schematic letters. We can use scripted form. So those scripted A, B, bold A, B, these are metalinguistic variable. We shouldn't mix up object language expression and meta language ones. We can't write for all phi because for all is an object language quantifier. We will discuss about quantifier later. And phi a meta language variable. Instead, we might write for every formula phi. So we don't use that quantifier. For example, first one is if Delagrande Mephistopheles, then yak yak. And second one saying that Delagrande Mephistopheles. Finally, we are concluding that they are for yak yak. So ultimately, if something holds, then we will get yak yak. And if Delagrande Mephistopheles is true, then the conclusion will be yak yak. And similarly, in the second example, we are getting A implies B, and in second premise we are getting A is true. Therefore, what will be our conclusion? Inference will be simply B. So this inference rule is known as modus ponens. In order to use a language to discuss any domain of object, the language of use should include names of that object. For example, to mention our planet, we use the name the Earth. Similarly, arithmetic presents an excellent example of the distinction between use and mention. Numerals are the names of numbers. So we use numerals to mention numbers. We can note that the following example is fallacious. So consider an example, 10 is a round number. So what makes a number round? That which is end with a 0. But the number 10 doesn't end with a 0. Its name does. So let's consider another simple example. If we want to mention the former president Kalam, we use his name. But if we want to mention his name, we use its name, which is obtained by taking his name and enclosing it in single quotes. So let's check the following example. So first one, Kalam is an Indian. That is true. But second one is a false, because Kalam is a 5-letter word. That is false one, because in this example we are trying to mention former president Kalam. So Kalam is a 5-letter word, that is not applicable. And similarly, within quote Kalam is a Indian, that is also false statement. So what will be right one? If we say Kalam is a 5-letter word and if we quote the word Kalam, that means we are using the name. We use it name. So that means first and fourth examples, fourth sentence are true, but second and third are false. Now in first and second, I am using Dr. Kalam's name to mention him. On the other hand, in third and fourth, I am not talking about the former president. Simply, I am talking about his last name. So applying this technique to arithmetic and meta-arithmetic, we can consider the following example. So in that case, 97 is a number, that is true statement. But if we say 17 is a number and we quote that 17, that is false. Similarly, if 75 is a 2-letter word, that is also false. But if we mark 29 and we say 29 is a 2-letter word, that is true. That's why 5th and 8th sentence are true. So in case of use and mention, we have to familiar with different approach of English. Consider the statement, president's name is R. Kovind. This seems perfectly understandable. But if we combine this with another statement, R. Kovind is the president, then it will be ambiguous. Why? Because then using identity logic, we will obtain the following, that president's name is president. So a valid argument leads to a false conclusion. That means one of the premises must be incorrect. So due to first one, this is a technical error. What will be the correct formulation? Correct formulation will be the president's name is something. That's why R. Kovind is denoted by the quote mark. That is the basic idea of use and mention in language and numerals. Now, what is propositional logic? Propositional calculus is such part of logic in which we deal with connections between propositions which depend only on how some propositions are constructed out of other propositions as fundamental units in construction. So what is propositional logic? Propositional logic is a mathematical system for reasoning about propositions and how they relate to one another. So every statement in propositional logic consists of propositional variables combined through propositional connectives. We have talked about conjunction, disjunction, implication, biconditional. So each proposition will be represented by a propositional variable. They are usually represented as lowercase letters such as p, q, r, s, so on. And each variable can take one of the two values, either true or false. Now, how can we describe the syntax of propositional logic? A given collection of symbols are called atomic statements or atoms, and we usually denote those with lowercase letter p, q, r, s or their subscripted variants. So a well-formed formula is described in the following ways. That is, any atomic formula is well-formed. If A is well-formed, then its negation will be well-formed. If A and B are two well-formed formulas, then their corresponding conjunction and disjunction are also well-formed. If A is well-formed and X is an individual variable, then for all X, A will be a well-formed formula. And the last one is saying that all well-formed formulas are constructed by repeated applications of the rules 1, 2, 3 finite number of times. That means we can use 1, 2, 3 repeated number of times. So our well-formed formula, which is not an atom, that means not a single element, that is called compound statement. For example, we show that negation of P join Q or R is a well-formed formula. So initially, from the first condition, P, Q, R are well-formed because they are atoms. Then due to 1 and 3, their conjunction will be well-formed, and similarly from 1, 2 and 3 we are getting that their corresponding disjunction will be well-formed. Then taking its negation, we will get the required result. So what will be the notational convention? To make reading well-formed formula easier, we shall omit the outer brackets and also the brackets associated with negation. So FA implies FP if and only if FC is an abbreviation of FA implies FP if and only if FC. So when operators are the same, the convention is association to left. That means leftmost occurrence is taken to have narrow scope. So FA implies FP implies FC is an abbreviation of first FA implies FB, then implies FC. And obviously for conjunction and disjunction, this last convention is less important because these operators are associative and sometimes brackets can't be left off.